Welcome back to Harmonize Your Life, conversations on self-care for women of color with your host, Dr. Toni G. Alvarado. It is the month of July, and I hope that you have been enjoying our July podcast series. We have had some amazing conversations, enlightening, enriching, educational, instructional, and inspirational conversations. And today's conversation will be, no doubt, just the same. All right, so get ready for a really good conversation. Go get you a cup of tea, or relax, or tell somebody, hey, come watch the Harmonize Your Life podcast with me, with Dr. Toni Alvarado, and listen in on another good episode. Share the link, subscribe to our YouTube channel, listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple, Anchor, wherever you enjoy your favorite podcast platform. I know you're going to be blessed by our guests on today, and we'll be right back in just a moment. All right, my guest is in the studio today. Is a sister, beloved girlfriend, and just a sis. I call her sis because that's that kind of relationship where we our hearts are connected and in mission, and our families are connected. Our husbands are connected. Friendship. They actually knew each other before we knew each other. Our children are connected, and we've been walking in this vineyard together now for over 30 years. It's hard to believe time really flies. Wow. All right. So my good girlfriend and sister is in the podcast studio with us today in the person of Dr. Deanne V Johnson, or better known as Dr. D. She is a native of Brooklyn, New York, and Dr. D is a licensed and ordained minister with over 30 years of ministerial experience. She has earned a BA in biblical education, a Master of Arts in Christian education, and a DMin with a concentration in discipleship and leadership. In 1994, she left a corporate position as a course developer and executive trainer to assume a full-time position with New Covenant Christian Ministries, the church she co-founded with her husband, Apostle Bill Johnson, in 1991. Her current position as executive pastor includes sharing in the teaching and preaching rotation, as well as overseeing the day-to-day business operations of the church and its staff. Beyond her church duties, Dr. D expresses her commitment to in the educational community by serving on the board of trustees of Beulah Heights University in Atlanta, Georgia, and she has been a guest instructor at Luther Rice Seminary, teaching church administration and management. Dr. D recently expanded her ministry by becoming the founder and president of 3 distinct organizations: Overflow Ministries, designed to disciple and strengthen women in their life call and purpose; Administrative Resource Consultants, developed to support churches in business operations and administrative staff training; and Psalmist and Scribe Publishing, a company dedicated to promotion of the gospel message through the production of written and musical compositions. Dr. D's first self-published work includes a devotional guide entitled Notes from My Bible, and you ought to see her Bible. I'm just going to say that. And the book, Keys to a Leader's Success, What to Do When You're Going Through, and her latest release, The Seasons of a Woman's Life. Dr. D is a woman who maintains a consistent life of devotion, solid walk with the Lord. She is the loving wife of Pastor Apostle Billy R. Johnson, and devoted mother to their adult son, Stephen Darius. An inspiring and well-respected servant. This woman willingly shares her gifts with the body of Christ, whether she is ministering in the pulpit or in a classroom, the word of God, training church leaders, teaching administrative principles, or ministering to women. Dr. Deanne Johnson works diligently to share with others the key to doing the work of ministry in excellence. And I am so glad to not only know her professionally in her professional life, but to know her in her personal life. And I want you to know that what you see is what you get with Dr. D. She is real. She is authentic. And she is not just what you see in public is what you see in private. And that is such a testimony to who she is. And I'm so delighted and honored and blessed to call her a sister and a friend. Hey, Dr. D.
Hey, my love. Listen, I was listening to you. I said, I don't know if I'm hoping I'm not on camera while she's reading that thing. That's a long bio right there.
That's okay. But look, when you got impact,
Oh, Lord. Somebody should have edited that thing.
You've been doing the work, girl. You've been doing the work. Listen. This, as Bishop Alvarado says, it's a sorry dog that won't wag his own tail.
That's my brother. That's my brother.
Listen, you've been doing the work, honey. You've been putting it in, and it shows. You've been putting the work in, and it shows. And I mean, not just the ministry work, but the personal work. When you were at Mom's homegoing just a few weeks ago, and I looked at you and I said, girl, you look so good.
Listen, I have to keep up with you because, you told us that self-care is important. And I decided that I'm only going to get one container to do what God has put me here to do. So I better take care of this container. So 30 pounds down, however many more to go until I feel like I'm going to stop. But it's a little harder to do it as you get older, though.
Now, I'm trying to tell you, them pounds they don't come off as quickly as they come on.
No, they do not. No, they do not. So it's been a journey, but it's been a good one because I feel great. I really do.
And you know what? That's the important thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We want to look good as women, but one of my guests earlier this month, Sheila Agnew, she's a fitness professional, and Sheila works mainly with women and men over 50, and she herself is 70. And when I tell you, she put some 30 and 40, some of us 50-year-old girls to shame in her 70s. Yeah. And she talked about the importance of our fitness and not just in how we look, but also in how we feel. We want to feel good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it really is about, we are a spirit, we have a soul, and we live in a body.
Right.
And the goal is to live from the inside out.
Right, exactly.
But most of the time, we are busy living from the outside in. And I find that interestingly enough, yeah. Look at you.
That's a whole sermon right there.
We're so concerned about, if it's tight and right. The main thing is it fit? Is the container fit for the purpose that's on the inside of you? And so, I love to eat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love to eat. You know me. I'm a social eater. So, because you and I, our families, we've shut down many a restaurant.
Can't we? We have been shut down. When the Johnsons and the Alvarados get together, and it's not that we eating a lot of food, y'all, but we enjoy each other company so much. We will start at 1:00 and they need to change 3-4 shifts before we get up from the table. We have to order something because we shame, because we not sat there so long. We have to order something again because we shame. We just sat there all day talking and catching up and just laughing and having fun together. It is something. Listen, D, you wrote a book. You just, you've written several, and I have all of your works. But this one right here, girl.
Wow.
I don't know if it's because of where I am right now. But this one here, If you do not have Dr. Deanne's book, The Seasons of a Woman's Life, that's what we're going to be talking about today. I brought her specifically on the podcast today. We could talk about a whole lot of stuff. We could talk about church. We could talk about administration. We could talk about, money. We could talk about marriage, children, all that. But I brought her on here today because she really deals with all those aspects in her book. Everything that I just talked to you about, that I just mentioned, she touches on in this book. And Dee, I really wanted you to talk to us today about your book. I want you to share a little bit of your story and why you are so passionate about empowering women particularly through this book. What inspired you in writing this book?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked me that, because actually this started, probably 15 years ago. And I was preparing to speak for just one of our regular women's events. And the whole concept came to my mind about seasons and how each season brings something different and how that correlates to our lives. And so I did, and the time of ministry went wonderfully. But you know how sometimes you do something and it just doesn't leave you. Then I found myself continually going back to that and digging a little bit more. And then what really kind of pushed the envelope for me was that I was finding that more and more of the women that I was mentoring and that I was just sharing with were finding themselves stuck. And they were stuck in what really were stages of their lives. And because they were stuck in stages, it was hard for them to really understand that there are seasons. There are some things that you go through and you are done. It's over with. And it's almost like the glory days. That size 6 dress that you're just never going to get back in.
Never.
It's a stage. Let it go and let's move on.
Right.
So if you get stuck in a stage, then as the cyclical seasons of life come, it's hard for you to end up expressing the purposes that you're supposed to be accomplishing in those seasons. And so the more I listened to them and the more I even looked at my own life to investigate, where am I? Am I holding on to something that's done with? You remember how his name is leaving me right now, but he slew the Philistines with the jawbone of the donkey. Samson.
You're talking about Samson.
Yes. He slew the Philistines with the jawbone of a donkey. I know that King James uses another word, but we're going to say a donkey.
Okay.
And then you don't see anything more about that jawbone. He discards it because it's done.
Wow.
It's finished. Had it been us, some of us would have started the jawbone ministry.
I love her for this. And this is how we talk. This is just this is what I love. And I tell my guests all the time, Dee, when I emailed you, what did I say? I said, I'm gonna have a set of questions, but these conversations are organic and I want us to just talk like we always do.
That's
and I
it.
know this is just how we talk. You said we would have started a jawbone ministry.
Girl, jawbones for $19.95. two for $20.99. You can get 2. Oh, we got T-shirts now. We're starting the Jawbone Conference. And you know what I'm saying? It's over. It's a stage. It's something that was done, and it's time to move. But we end up getting stuck.
Wow.
Or we start defining ourselves by those stages. In the book, one of the things I use, because you know me, I like to keep the cookies on the low shelf. And one of the things I used for stage illustration was, that awkward stage.
Yeah.
I mean, as I was growing up, I was looking at a picture of myself. I think I was about 12. and these long, lanky legs and long arms, and my torso looked like it was about this big, and acne, and I wore glasses, and they were like Coca-Cola bottles. Oh my girl! If I defined myself by that stage, it
Oh,
would have been hopeless.
wow.
But over time, I grew out of that. And so my body started coordinating itself, and it turned into a rather womanly figure. The
Yeah,
acne, while I love in the book, I say, while it's still problems, it calmed itself down, and I
yeah.
grew into a not so bad looking face.
You're beautiful.
Well,
You're
thank you,
beautiful.
dear.
You're
But it
beautiful.
was just a stage.
Mhm.
But during that stage, had I not, I found myself having to really work, T, because I
Mhm.
was letting those things define me.
Mm, mm,
I was
mm,
letting them, I was receiving the messages
mhm.
that you're not attractive. You're
Mm.
never going to be beautiful. You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Or
yeah. You're not
and
enough. Mhm,
you're not enough.
mhm,
Or sometimes it is this stage of, even when I think about children, when you think about our children, when they're babies, in
mhm.
that stage, they need us almost 24/7 because they
Exactly.
can't do anything for themselves,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
But there comes a stage in their lives when they now can do for themselves.
mhm,
If
mhm.
I'm doing for my son at 24 what I was doing for him at 4,
Mm.
there's
That's
a
not.
problem.
That's a problem.
There's a problem because
Mhm.
he is at another stage, and I must allow him to be at a new stage, which means I've got to enter into another stage altogether.
Wow, wow, wow,
So
wow.
that's kind of where I know it's a long way around, but that's kind of
No, no,
how it
that's good. Because
yeah,
one of the things I wanted you to unpack was what's the difference between a stage and a season,
yeah.
um, and why is it important for us to understand the difference between the two?
Yes, yes, because stages are specific times and places that we move through. And
Mm,
for the most part, when you go through a stage, it's not a place you're going to return.
okay,
Seasons, on the other hand, are cyclical.
right,
Just
right,
like the seasons in the year,
yeah,
they come around. Now, why that's important is because you can experience every one of those seasons in any stage of your life.
oh,
Yes.
yeah,
So
mm,
at 15, I went through a terribly, terribly traumatic situation,
mhm, mhm.
um, where my stepfather was killed in my presence. My mother was severely wounded in that situation and was in the hospital for months.
Wow,
That was a winter. That was a winter season. But in that, I was a teenager.
mhm.
So the stage of my life, your mind or the world tells you that when you're young, everything's going to be wonderful.
Wow,
Everything is going to be great. There aren't going to be any life altering problems. And as a matter of fact, we have to be careful because sometimes we ignore the seasons that younger people are going through because
yeah,
we say things like, child, you 18, you don't have nothing to be concerned about.
right, right, right. But
And it's to
they're
say
going through their own storms and their own seasons. Right,
exactly,
right,
exactly.
right.
So as I encountered women younger and not as young, I found that I was sharing these thoughts. And then I thought, you know what? This is all stemming from this message that I started. Let me go back and
Mm,
kind of put some more meat on it. And then
mhm,
ultimately, you know me, I'm a
mm.
discipleship girl. So I love anything that creates conversation, either
Mhm,
conversation with ourselves or
mhm.
conversation among ourselves as women.
Right.
And so I said, well, what would I want this to be? I would want this not to be a book where people just sit down and read it, but I would want this to be something where you would have to engage and really ask yourself. I would want this to feel like you were sitting across from me and I've shared a story with you, but then I'm listening to you to, kind of give some feedback as to where you are. And so far, I've been getting some amazing feedback from it. I really have.
It's really, I mean, it's good. Your opening story, of course, you open about the story about the woman with the 4 girls.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, that just like, oh, Jesus, right? Being the oldest of 4 girls. And, and so that was deeply personal for me. But the idea that what struck me about that story that you gave, where they all saw the same tree.
Yes.
But they all saw that tree in different seasons. That was very impactful for me. So my question to you then is, what role does our perspective have when it comes to understanding our seasons?
Everything. Absolutely everything. I liken perspective to tinted glasses. If I put on glasses right now that had, let's say, a yellow tint to them, everything that I looked at would be casting a yellowish color.
Yes, right.
And that would be my reality, because that's the lens through which I was looking.
Right.
And so it is with us in every area of life, but specifically because we're talking about seasons, the lens that I look through, my perceptions can color what the benefit is of that season. I always go back to the winter, for instance.
Okay.
And, that one happens to be my favorite, one of my favorite chapters in the book, because people typically don't want to talk about the challenging times. They like to talk about the springs and the summers.
And even the fall. We don't mind fall.
Yeah, we don't mind fall when it's especially harvest.
Right.
But that winter, for instance, I can't remember. I wrote the book, but I don't always remember the exact quotes. But I often say, winter is not the time. No, it's not.
You said it's not the time to hide.
It's not the time to hide. And it's not death. Winter is not. It's not dying. It's just dormant. You see, and so when we think about the natural winter. When we are experiencing winter, it looks like nothing is happening, but that's not true. Nothing is happening above ground because all the work is being done underneath the ground, because that's the work that's going to sustain you when the next season comes, right?
Right. I put your book in dialogue with this book. While I was on vacation, and Dr. Cheryl Bridges-Johns, she's on the podcast this month as well. And her book is 7 Transforming Gifts of Menopause and Unexpected Spiritual Journey. And it's a good read. I recommend it.
That title.
I will. And listen, I put you and her in dialogue because she says, similar to what you're saying about winter, she talks about these she changes our paradigm on menopause because she helps us to see the gifts in menopause. Whether, because oftentimes we, as women, when we talk about menopause, it's a dreadful kind of experience. Nobody wants to go through it, but she talked about it's kind of it's not the death of the woman, but it's a rebirthing season for us. And so, and when you said what you said about winter, it reminds me so much of what Dr. Johns is saying about the whole menopause and the hidden gifts that we receive as women.
That's why perspective is. Yeah, that's why perspective is so important, because there is something to be gained in every season. Every season. There's something that you can, I said this, I don't remember which chapter, but I said this, I said, there's something that you can gain and there's something that you can grow in
Mm-mm.
every season.
Wow.
There's
Wow.
something you can gain and there's
And
something that
something
you
you can
can
grow from.
grow. You and I can produce in every season,
Yes, Lord.
in
Yes, we
every
can.
one of them. So menopause, whatever that may be, wherever I may be, I could be in this season. Right now, you're walking in a different place in your life. You're walking in an entirely different place in your life. But your perspective, it is so empowering. It
Okay.
is so strengthening.
Yeah,
And it makes all the difference
it
with
does.
what you find. I remember I do mention it in here. Bill was preaching one Sunday, and he's the illustration king. And and I don't even remember what the message was about, but he said, there are times when you feel like circumstances and situations just kind of knock you down. And he got and went down on his knees. He said, and then when you feel like you're as far down as you can go, something can hit you even further. And he was almost prostrate on the floor of the pulpit.
Mhm.
And then the next thing he did absolutely blew me away. And that's where I got the whole concept of there's something you can gain. Because he said, but while you're down here, he started patting around. He said, but while you're down, look for what you can pick up to take with you when you get up. And that's the way it is with the seasons of our lives. There's something that we can gain. There's something that we have to learn, because a season isn't going to last forever. I
You
don't care how good
know,
summer feels, it's not going to
not going to
last
last forever.
forever.
And the hope, and then the thing that gives us hope is no matter how harsh or bad the winter is, it's not going to last forever.
It's not going to last
You know,
forever.
Deanne, when I started my grief counseling, I actually went into grief counseling before Mom passed,
Mhm.
and I because actually I was grieving her loss before
Yes.
she passed, before she physically,
Yes.
left this earth. But grieving the loss of her, more loss of her mobility, loss of
Mhm.
things that we used to be able to do that we couldn't do, as her health was declining even the more.
Yeah.
So I knew that I needed to go in grief counseling. But one of the things my grief counselor said to me that was so empowering in my first visit, she said, you will always miss your mother, but you will not always grieve your
Mhm.
mother if
Yes.
you grieve healthily. And
Yes.
she talked about people who get stuck in grief.
Yes.
And she said that we call that, she called it complicated grief.
Wow.
When we get stuck in grief, because she said God never designed us to grieve forever. And you know what I thought about when she was saying that to me? I thought about two scriptures. I thought about Abraham after the
Mhm.
death of Sarah.
Mhm.
A lot of people we don't talk about Abraham's second wife,
That's right. That's
right?
right.
We
That's right.
always stop with Sarah,
That's right.
but Sarah
That's
died
right.
before
She
Abraham.
sure did.
And
She
the
sure
Bible
did.
says there's a text in there where it says he mourned, he wept, and then he got up.
He got up.
He mourned, and then the scripture with David, when the
I was
child,
going to say David with the child.
as
That's
long
it.
as the child was alive, David mourned. He sat in sackcloth and ashes.
That's
But,
it.
but when the child died, and they told David that the child was dead, the interesting thing about that was the Bible says David got up, arose, washed his face, changed his clothes, anointed himself, and went into the house and worshiped. And so she just talked to me about the season of grief and getting what I can get out of this season, but knowing that I won't always be
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
place. I'll always miss her, but I don't have to get stuck here. And
That's
that's
it.
what you mean by that stage.
Yes, because think about it. They even refer to it as the stages
Of
of
grief.
grief.
Yes.
because you're designed to move through
Do
them.
it. Yeah. Oh,
And it
wow.
doesn't mean that when I move through this, I'm not going to remember this person or honor their presence or anything, but you're designed to go from one stage to the next, moving progressively until you move out of that condition.
Yeah.
And now you can continue to function in your life.
Whew, I tell you, this is so empowering. Now, D, I'm sure you work with women. Both of us are into empowering women. We both
Yeah.
have been, not just as pastors, but outside of our local church. We've
Yeah.
had groups of women that we mentor, that we
Mhm.
coach, and lead. And one of the questions that I'm often asked by women who come through either where I've mentored them formally or informally,
Mhm.
is how do I understand or tap into my purpose? Because one of the things you talk about in your book is that our understanding our purpose
Yes.
and the
Yes.
purpose of a season.
Yes.
So this question is often asked. How do you answer that question when women ask you, how do I understand and tap into my purpose?
Wow, that question is probably going to be the age-old and lifelong question of all. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting that we're talking about that because I'm working on an article right now dealing with this whole idea of purpose.
Mm.
So I get to work out some of I get to work out some of it on you now. But what I found interesting, because I do get that question a lot, and what I found interesting, you know me, I went back to the word.
Mhm.
Nowhere when I went back to the word, every place that I saw the word purpose in relation to God,
Mhm. Mhm.
it never had anything to do with what we do.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It always had to do with who he intended for us to become. And it was always attached to becoming in relationship with his son and being conformed to the image of his son,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And so then I started looking and I said, now, what is purpose? When you think of purpose, the noun purpose, it
Mhm.
is the intent for which a thing was made,
Mhm.
the reason that a thing was made.
Mhm.
Or if I said, I purpose, like Daniel purposed in his heart not
Mhm.
to defile himself with the king's food, right?
Mhm.
He made up in his mind, he had an intention,
Mhm.
he was deliberately not going to do this thing.
Mhm.
So I started thinking that I think one of the challenges and the reasons that people ask us that question so much
Mhm.
is because I believe that we confuse purpose with vocation. We,
Okay.
you understand what I'm saying?
I hear you.
When people ask, how do I get to know my purpose? Many times what they're really asking is, how do I figure out what I'm supposed to be doing on the earth?
I hear
Why?
you.
You understand?
I hear you.
So I like to come at it from that standpoint to say, let's understand and agree what you are asking.
Mhm.
Because I believe that what we're trying to find is, what is it that I'm supposed to, what is that significant impact that I'm supposed to have
Yeah.
in the earth?
And who am I
Because
called to be? Not necessarily what am I called to do, because
who
what
am
I
I
do
called to
changes.
be? Yes. So
Those
you
are
can have
stages.
purpose.
Sometimes what I do is a stage.
Exactly.
I hear you.
Exactly.
I hear
So
you.
that's why I say we have to separate it.
Okay.
Because if we start talking about my purpose in terms of the noun, the intent, the original intent for the making of a thing, then
Mhm.
the only one who can tell me my purpose is the one who made me.
Well, come
The
on now.
only one who can tell us what a computer is designed for,
It's
is
the
the purpose of a computer, is the one who made the computer.
Right.
because it
Right.
is in the mind of the creator, the purpose of what that thing should be,
Right. Right.
right? So when we
And
start
what it was
talking
supposed and what it does is connected to what it was designed to be.
designed to be.
Right.
Now,
And one of the ways that I share with women, with when it comes to purpose, understanding purpose, I tell women I tell them also that our lives have more than one purpose, because the Bible says
absolutely.
to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose. So
That's
there
right.
could be our lives have many purposes, and sometimes what I do may change, but my
Absolutely.
purpose, you know what I'm saying? It's the
Yes.
overarching call of who I am. I'm called,
Yes.
I'm an empowerer.
Yes.
That's the
Yes.
being. You
That's
know what I'm
it.
saying? I'm a servant. That's the being. So what I do is connected to who I am.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
glad you mentioned that because the writer of Ecclesiastes, he does say to everything there is a season, a
Mhm.
time for every purpose
And
under
you
the
talked
sun.
about that in your book.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes.
there's a season.
Uh-huh.
Within that season, you
Mhm.
only have a certain amount of time to accomplish a specific purpose.
Mm.
So the purpose of winter is not the same as the purpose of spring, which is exactly what you're saying. My purposes fluctuate based upon the season that I'm in. What would I look like going out and planting
Mhm.
flowers in the middle of winter?
Mhm.
In spite of I could have the greatest green thumb, I could be a professional horticulturist, but that would be
It's not the
wasted
season.
purpose
Yeah.
in that season.
Mhm.
So during that season, perhaps I then take my skill to find a new strain of some
Mhm.
kind of a beautiful flower that I will plant in the next fall. You see? So I totally agree with you. And that's why we have to separate that. Now, I do think that I feel like I owe people an explanation when they talk about purpose in that regard. When I can get a sister to separate them, then I say, now, if we want to talk about where you feel like what is that significant thing that you're here to accomplish, then I think that can be done pretty
Yeah, yeah,
easily.
yeah. And
One, you ask God. You
yeah,
really
yeah,
ask
yeah.
God.
Because vocation is important.
It really is.
It
It
is
really
because
is.
because God put us in the earth to work,
Exactly.
and our work should be satisfying, impactful, significant, and not necessarily when we say significant. Sometimes we think big and large,
Mm-mm.
but I mean just significant in the sense that you're fulfilled, and the people that you're called to serve are
Absolutely.
fulfilled by the work that you're
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
But yeah, one of the books that I'm reading right now in this season, I'm rereading the book by Parker Palmer, Let Your Life Speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that book, he talks about vocation, but he talks about it in the sense of what you're talking about, not in the sense of what am I called to do, but what am I called to be, and
Yeah.
how does what I do connect to my purpose
Exactly.
and who I'm
Exactly.
called to be.
Yeah. And it's easy enough to discover that. I know it sounds complicated, but it really is easy enough. Like I said, I would start with asking God. You ask the manufacturer. And then I would ask myself. It's
Mm.
really, to me, three asks. I ask God, what is it? What is that thing that you want to see through me?
Mhm.
And how have I connected to your ultimate purpose? Because
Okay.
sometimes I can't find this significant purpose here because I haven't really connected with his ultimate purpose. But
Okay.
then, second to that, I have to ask myself a question. What is it that I'm passionate about? Because,
Mhm.
see, sometimes our purpose is not necessarily connected to what we do for a living. Some of
Exactly.
us are blessed
Exactly.
too. I've
This
been blessed my entire career. I've never had a job that I didn't love. Because in every job, this is
Mhm,
no
mhm.
lie, every job that I have had, God has worked it out where they've created the job for me. I might have gone in as the secretary, and by the time I finished, I created me a whole nother. I worked for Essence Magazine, and I'll never forget, they had to create a title for me because I was like, okay, I'm going to do what you pay me to do, and then I'm going to do what I love to do and show you how valuable it is to you. And now you don't have nobody doing it, so now you got to create something to give me a job for it. So what is your passion? What is your passion? And you can discover it by asking yourself, what bothers me?
Yeah, what frustrates me.
And what blesses me?
What bothers me and what blesses me. Yes.
Because both of those hit at my passion.
Yeah. They do.
You know me, I can't stand ragged anything. Like, listen, don't be ragged. Don't throw something together.
Ratchet. That's what the kids call it now. Ratchet. That's what the children call it.
Ooh, don't be ratchet. Just throw something together. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah.
But I have such a passion for excellence. But I understand that excellence is not perfection.
Right.
Excellence is simply doing the best you can with what you have. So
you just like things to be in order.
I do. And that's yes, I do. And that's just a passion. Now, I'll give you an example of that. You mentioned one of the, Psalmist and Scribe. So it is, I started this publishing company. I didn't start this publishing company to publish anybody else. I didn't plan to go into business of publishing. But just recently, I posted something on IG, and a lady that I know, she hit me back and she was like, "Oh, I'm so excited that to hear about your book. I'm getting ready to order it right now." She said, "And by the way, I wrote a book." I said, "Really?" And so she told me what it was. So immediately I went on Amazon and I downloaded her book, and it really was a good book, but the layout was really not good. It really wasn't. And I said, "Now, Lord, what do I do?" Because my goal is not to offend anybody. But I told my husband about it. He was like, "Well, what you gonna do? Because you keep talking about it." So finally, I said, "Okay." I texted her and I said, "You got a minute to talk?" And she called me, and she said, "I said I read."
Look, the teacher showed up.
Because you know me.
The teacher showed up.
Go ahead. The teacher jumps out when I don't even want her to.
When the student is ready, the teacher will show up.
And so I said, your book was so engaging, and it was. It's written like a novel, but it really is her story. It's a true story about her life, and it's engaging and it's impactful. I could see people really being healed, but I was thinking to myself, nobody's gonna get past the packaging. And I said, "I tell you what, if you would allow me, I would like to just kind of work on it a little bit for you. I'd like to edit it for you." And I ended up, now when I said that, I didn't realize the book was as long as it was, because I was reading it on Kindle, right? And I hadn't gotten through the whole thing. She sent me this book, which is like about 150 pages, but I edited that entire book. Then I got my graphic artist, I was telling her about it. She redesigned the cover for her. And when I gave it back to her, and then I uploaded it onto Amazon for her. Because she had but she didn't know what to do.
I hear where you're going.
She has a beautiful book now. So I realized that my passion is to help people to present themselves in the best light possible. And if any of my gifts can help to do that, then I want to help to create that. So you got to know your passion. So I say, you ask God, you ask yourself those questions. What bothers me? Because that bothered me. And what blessed me was her I mean, when I tell you she was over the moon appreciative. And then ask others.
Yes.
Trusted
God.
people in
Mm-hmm.
your life.
So,
Ask them,
and
what do you see in my life? What kinds of things do you have you come to expect from my life? What kinds of things, do you see as giftings? Because sometimes I know for me, I am horrible at self-promotion. And my husband says that I really downplay and I don't recognize sometimes the breadth of my gifts. And
mm-hmm.
he might be right. Don't tell him I
And
said
you know,
that.
a lot of women, a lot of us, seriously, we don't see
Hmm.
ourselves the way others, and
Yeah,
we tend to not, we tend to downplay ourselves. And the men,
exactly.
on the other hand, are a little different when they come to that.
Yeah.
You know, if someone says you have on a nice dress, oh, this old thing, and
Say
you don't have
thank
to
you.
qualify. You,
Ain't
you
nobody
don't have
care
to
where
tell
you
me
bought
it's
it
old.
from.
I don't,
Look,
girl, I didn't pay hardly anything for that. Who cares what you? I didn't
I
ask you
don't
what you
care
paid
where
for.
you bought it.
I didn't ask you
I
what you
just
paid
thought
for.
you said, I just said it was
But we
nice.
think we have to justify.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We have to
Yeah.
just. And I'm going to say this to you, Dr. D. This podcast is unashamedly dedicated to women of color.
Yes.
I don't have any problem with other women
Absolutely.
in other traditions or the ethnic groups or whatever. Anglo women being a part of these conversations. However, one of the reasons I dedicated it to women of color is because we wrestle with that so bad.
That's right.
We have so many messages in society that tell us we're not good enough, we're not pretty
Absolutely.
enough, our hair is not our hair is kinky, whatever, or we're too big, we got hips, and so we wrestle with so many esteem issues.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And even when it comes to self-care, we feel guilty.
Absolutely.
When it comes to taking care of ourselves, we feel like we got to be the strong Black woman. We feel like, we got to carry everybody in our community on our back.
Yes, yes,
We
yes.
and we even feel guilty. We don't want to we can't take a day off.
Mm.
My sisters, they don't care nothing about having a full spa day.
Oh, you better know it. You better know it. And then go out to lunch with somebody the next day.
Do you understand? But us, if we do that, we feel like we got to explain why
Everything.
we're doing it, and you don't
Uh-uh.
have to do
Oh
that.
no, oh now you think you're so cute. Well, you know my answer to that one, T. I always say when she said, "Oh, you think you're so cute." No, the issue is you think I'm cute, but you just don't know how to say it to me yet. So let's grow up and get some emotional intelligence here and be
Yes.
able to rock with it.
That's right. Hey, that's right. But yeah, so so yeah, we do as women, we downplay our gifts, we downplay,
Yeah,
and I think that you writing books like this is what frees us.
yeah, yeah,
Having empowering women. I mean, for you to take that woman's book and do what you did with it.
yeah,
I mean, that says, number one, you're secure in who you are,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you don't mind investing in someone else
yeah,
and helping another sister be
yeah,
the best that she can be. And that's what this book is about, helping us be our best.
yeah, yeah.
That's what I love about it.
I
But how
love
does
it.
this connect to it? This is a self-care podcast and
Hmm.
all of that. But how do you see this understanding our seasons, the seasons of a woman's life? How do you see this connecting to us taking better care of ourselves?
Oh my gosh, I think it has everything to do with it. I think self-care becomes the precursor to everything. Because you asked me a question earlier. You asked me about perception. I believe that our perceptions get clearer as we learn to embrace self-care.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So if I don't take care of myself, I'm always looking through a weakened lens. I have to go to the eye doctor soon. And because years ago, I had LASIK surgery. And so my distance vision is still very good. But what I've noticed was that my left eye, I could not see quite as clearly as I could in my right eye. What I did not realize was when they performed the LASIK surgery, they didn't make me 20/20. It's something like, like 20/25 or something
Yeah.
like that.
Uh-huh.
And so I have to make sure that when I'm looking at something, I am looking with both of my eyes very clearly so that I can maximize the way I see and perceive things in front of me. Now I'm now thinking, all right, let me make sure that when I get my eyes examined, I tell them I'm wearing glasses because I want the benefit of being able to see crystal clear. I'm taking care of my eyes because I want to be able to see clearly. I'm taking care of my health now, or better said, my weight now, because when I walk, I don't want to feel like I need oxygen.
Right.
know, I'm taking care. There are times when I was raised an only child. I have siblings, but I was basically raised an only child, and so I am good by myself. And so I recognize that the way I have to decompress is I got to have some time by myself. I love my husband, and for a fact we're almost like joined at the hip, because not because I can't be without him, but because I like being with him so much. He's really my best friend. But even in that, I have to make sure that I set aside time just for me, because that's a part of my self-care. The better I take care of myself, the clearer my perception will be in every one of my seasons. And then I can see what it is God wants me to see. I can gain what it is I'm supposed to gain. I can touch who I'm supposed to touch in that season. And I can plant what I'm supposed to plant in that season so that I can get a harvest on it later on.
You said something. I'm not going to let you get away without repeating it. You said,
oh Lord, I have these things written down now.
The better I take care of myself, the better my perspective is in each season.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
The clearer my perspective will be. You know how it is. I know that sometimes I will, we laugh, and Bill and I say, after almost 33 years of marriage, I always tease and we say, we've never had an argument in 33 years of marriage. We just have intense moments of fellowship.
Right.
And then he adds, and some more intense than others.
Right. That's why yes, Lord. Intense moments. Anybody been married over 5 minutes know about those.
That's right. But one of the things that I have really strived to do is be able to own the why behind my intensity.
Okay.
Some of the times in the early years of our marriage, like if it was time for my cycle, I needed to pull away because it really wasn't about him, but I just felt horrible.
Wow.
And I knew that any little thing would probably cause me to respond differently than I would otherwise. Or better, let's put it like this. I'd like to remove myself before I have to really extract the fruit of the Spirit.
I
Before I have to really go and pick some fruit.
I understand.
So it's, sometimes if you get into it with somebody, you realize the problem isn't with them or what they said. The problem is I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired. I'm frustrated about something. I'm worried about something.
Yeah.
And to me, all of that is self-care. I've got to, first of all, self-care has to be, I would say, prior to self-care has to be self-awareness.
Awareness, yeah. And in my book, I talk about that. In my book, Harmonize Your Life, I start with that. Self-care begins with self-awareness.
Yes.
Because if you're not aware of when you're needing to pull away or when you're needing whatever it is you need, if you're not aware of what what you enjoy, and then those things change in different seasons.
They sure do.
So
They sure do.
there are some things. There are some of my self-care practices that I practice at 58 that I didn't practice at 38.
I know that's right.
Because I'm in a different.
You're 68.
You see what I'm saying? And so it's those seasons. Even self-care looks different in different seasons.
Looks totally different.
Yeah.
It looks different in stages.
Yeah.
And in seasons.
That's
there
good.
are things that I even mentioned this there are certain stages where your mind is considerably younger or more able than your physical body. And I said it jokingly, but it's true. And it's like sometimes I have a hard time understanding why my body will not do what's in my head to do. So you have to be fluid enough to be able to recognize what you need at different times and different seasons are important. And that's why I said, to wrap that up, that I think that self-care becomes the precursor to all of it. Because if you are not taking care of yourself, you are not able to clearly perceive what you are, where you are, why you're there, and what you're to do while you're there.
Where you are, why you're
there,
and what you're to do while you're there. That is so good. Dr. Deanne, this has been, of course, me and we can shut down the restaurants.
Come on. And if we can shut down the restaurants, we can shut down a podcast.
So I want them to know where they can find you. So I'm going to put some things on the screen here on the some banners up. We have been talking with Dr. Deanne Johnson. She is just phenomenal, the author of The Seasons of a Woman's Life and several other works. So, but today we've been discussing her newest work, her newest book, The Seasons of a Woman's Life. I want you to know you can find her at her website, Live in the Overflow. This is just one of them. I just wanted to put that one up.
Yes.
But for her Overflow Ministries, you can find Overflow Ministries on Facebook. Go to her website and Live in the Overflow. It will connect you to all of her other works. She is also the co-pastor of New Covenant Christian Ministries, and I'm sure there are links to her local church there as well. Follow her on Instagram at Dr. DV Johnson. You can follow her there. Also on Twitter with that same handle, Dr. DV Johnson. Go to her YouTube channel at Overflow Ministries International. You can reach out to her through all of her social media networks and all the work that she is doing. She is a wealth of knowledge, as you can already see. She is a river. I love that about her because she refreshes. And the Bible says he who refreshes others will herself be refreshed. And so she is a refresher of others. And that's one of the reasons why I love her, because she refreshes me every time we're in each other's presence. And I know that her book, listen, go to Amazon or go to her website and get her book. Let's support the work that she is doing. Bring her to your conferences. Have her share in your small groups. The book is also a good conversation piece. And in your small groups, as a matter of fact, Dr. D, as you were talking, I'd love to get you to come into Tea Time with me. Tea Time with Dr. Toni is a part of the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Network, and I'm going to put that up there. When I do a monthly meeting with the women there called Tea Time with Dr. Toni, and it really is just time for us to talk and share, and we bring in different speakers at different times to share with us. We're doing it right now in a virtual environment, which is working because we have women from all over the country coming into Tea Time monthly in our monthly meetings. I want you to know, if you're just joining us, you are listening to the Harmonize Your Life Conversations on Self-Care for Women of Color podcast. You can find us on YouTube, on Apple, on Google, on Spotify. You can also go to my YouTube channel. Please go there and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Women, join the Harmonize Your Life Women's Self-Care Network. I promise you it will be a blessing in your life. Thank you so much, Dr. D, for coming in and being with us on today. I want you to give us one last nugget before you leave.
Oh, my heavens. One last nugget. Oh, my gosh. I think what has been going on in my mind throughout the time that we've been talking is this, that you and I have to remember that we've been designed to be human beings, not human doings. And so don't be defined solely by what you do. Make sure that you're spending time being who you were designed to be. And also remember that somebody is following you, somebody's watching you. You know, you got more followers than just on social media. There are people who are watching your life and watching my life. And so I want to encourage you and myself that because they're watching us, that we have a responsibility to live responsibly. So I hope this has been a blessing for you. I appreciate the opportunity.
It has. You are a blessing. Thank you so much, sis. I love you.
I love you more than that.
Okay, y'all, stay tuned for our next episode. As a matter of fact, Dr. D is wrapping up the month of July for us. And so in the month of August is our podcast break. We do not post any new episodes. We go 3 months on and 1 month off. And in that fourth month, you get an opportunity to go back and catch up on everything, you know, like they do on Netflix and all those other places. So you get to go back and listen to other episodes that you just didn't have time to listen to. But catch up with us again in September, and we'll be back with our next season of podcast episodes. All right. Have a wonderful, blessed summer season. See you soon. Hi, this is Dr. Toni Alvarado. I am so delighted about bringing the Harmonize Your Life podcast to you. Would you do me a favor? If you are enjoying this podcast, would you email me at hello@drtonyalvarado.com? I want to hear from you. I want your feedback. I want to know if there are any other topics that you are interested in as it relates to wellness, self-care, nutrition, or just overall bringing harmony into your life. Email me, contact me at hello@drtonyalvarado.com.